Hello my crafty friends, it's Krista here from Second Chance Creation. Back again with my second journal, and I think you'll like this one. It is just nice and squishy, and it turned out totally different to what I started with, and you'll probably get a chuckle out of it. I've used a doona cover as the covering for the inside and the outside. The doona cover had plain fabric on one side and printed fabric on the other. The printed fabric I used on the inside and the plain fabric I used on the outside. Now, how this journal originated was from this little parasol. I had a little box, and it had the parasol on it. And I've been putting the box here, there, everywhere, never using it. So I took the parasol off and used the box for something else. That kept getting in my way. And I thought, oh, I've got to make a journal out of this. And of course, you know, just like that, light bulb went on. I'm going, yes, parasol journal. And of course, it was a really bright colour, and I sort of darkened a little bit to go with it. So, and that's how the parasol journal was born, because of this little parasol here. I made this about well and truly 4 years ago, and I watched one of the crafters when I started on YouTube channel crafting, and I watched one of the crafters make these. Don't ask me who it was, because like I said, it was 4 years ago. I used a wooden skewer and I gessoed it. So only just recently gessoed it because it was just bare timber. And I darkened a little bit with a bit of ink, and I've popped on this little applique and the button and the little organza bow. They're the only things that I put on there, because it was a very bright colour, satin fabric. That was on the pearl, and the little bling was on there, the little tassel trim was on there. So I just changed it a bit to go with the journal, and that's how it was born. Had real fun making it. The cover itself is made from my padded envelope. As you all know, I love using those envelopes, so by the time I folded over, it was a really nice size, but it had square corners. And when I put the cover on, only this part, the fabric and the lace, I had all that on there. And before I put this beautiful, this is of a table runner on there, I just folded in half, and I'm looking at it, and I popped in some pages, and, you know, toing and froing, and I'm going, nah. So I cut the corners off, tore the pages, used my fancy scissors, and that was it. So I totally changed it, and I love it. What I've done is I've cut the joins of the doily, the runner just here, so that you can actually put this tag in quite comfortably, just like that. Okay, and yes, the tag you can just journal on. And then what I've done was, I've actually, on the back here, I'll leave that out, I've put another doily in here, because I just didn't like just the plain edge there. And this doily is this colour, so it's quite an old doily, this one. Used various laces and trims from a scarf. Here's another doily trim, and I kept that white. It's probably the only thing that's white in here. And you'll see a little bit wrapped around here. This is of a scarf, a satiny type scarf, and I tore that in strips. And this is the other side of the doona cover, because it had a plain side and a printed side. And those two colours go hand in hand, don't they? But when I tore both pieces, this really frays. I mean, it really, really frays. You can, if you have a look, you can really see it just there. Okay, I have to cut that off now. And so what I did was, I used a candle and just singed the edges. A lot of you crafters probably know that technique. Light a little candle and just run across with the edge, and it'll just singe the edges so that it won't fray. I used to do a lot of my flowers that way to get the petals, and it looks really cool. You know, some parts I might have missed it, but it's still singed. It's not going to fray, and it looks really cool. And I've just, you know, pleated it when I sewed it to make it look like a pretty bow. So that's how I've made that bow. I used hot glue in this journal and also glitter glue in this journal. Got a little bowl pin. This was a pendant, okay? You're not going to believe, my friend just around the corner has boxes and boxes of dress jewellery, and that they were selling on eBay, but because it was so much and so chunky, she said, Krista, take the box. And no word of a lie, I have so much jewellery now, I don't even need to go hunting. So I use this piece here because I just love the colouring, and the colours just go in there as well. Okay, just bear with me for a tip. Right, back again, all good. So yeah, so you can take that off if you wish and put it somewhere else, or you might even want to use it, put a chain through it. The closure is attached, and it's that beautiful soft vintage lace trim that I have. Let's open her up and have a look inside. So as you can see, there is the beautiful design of the doona cover. Of course it's all washed, but can you hear that crinkling? Popped on a doily. Bookmaker's note just goes in here. And this is a little story about the history of Parasol. So, yes, and how it actually became a really cool parasol. So that makes interesting reading. Lovely fabric that I still have, which was a dress. And I thought that lended itself really nicely because it has the softness, the fringe. I sort of imagine a parasol being made from that. This was a mistake. The ink didn't turn out really well when I printed this out, so I put it aside. The images I printed from Pinterest because I didn't have anything with parasol apart from the actual parasol that I made. And as I printed some images out, they turned out like that as well. Maybe because the paper is too heavily coffee dyed, or it might be because it's thick paper. I think it might be art paper. And it feels grainy, but it feels like fabric, but it's not fabric. So when this colour turned out, I thought I might as well use this, you know, go together. I don't want to waste it. Used a bit of ink there to print this parasol, so in it went, and you know, it goes with the colouring, no waste. Snippets of the doily. I did a bit of stenciling. I got hold of some stencils, made a little flip just here. Love this paper napkin. I did a bit of decoupage, a bit of lace trim, little ruffle, and I singed the edges on this as well so it wouldn't fray too much on you. And you can use this as a little tuck spot if you wish. I've made a whole heap of fabric and paper clusters, and Tina from Shabby Dabby Doodah made some of these, so and I think Laurie from Go on the Ridge as well. So I thought, oh, what a good idea, you know, where you just put them all on one piece of paper, whatever packing paper you want, and then put them all individual and then tear them off and embellish them. So I made a whole heap, and I've used them within this journal. Here's a little image I printed out on just normal coffee dyed paper, just there. Some more stenciling. Here's a nice tuck spot, paper, book page, music paper, cheesecloth, lovely old really sheer fabric. It's the last piece I've got, I think, that I used up. And just some applique here, bit of applique there, and I used a little cameo with some black cotton threads. This was of a out of a book, and I saw this, and I think it was a wedding party. I think I used the other piece throughout as well. And look, Parasol. Here's one of my wrapping papers that I waxed and turned into an envelope. In here you've got a little journaling card. Backed it on some painty papers that I made. Book page that has been decoupaged with a napkin. And just again from Pinterest, and there's that colour again. So it's okay. Here's one of my clusters, and yes, look what's in this journal. More of these little postcards. Unbelievable. And you can use this as a tuck spot as well. Here's another one of the fabric clusters. This is just on the paper again. I think this was artist paper, and it's thick and porous, and I think that's why that sort of came out. I don't know, but I don't mind the colour. Popped on a little piece of tattered trim there. Some stenciling. Here you've got a couple of journaling cards. Another one of my, I just like these clusters. You know, edged it with a bit of trim so that you can see it all, you know. Painty papers, wax paper, and then this came out pretty good. I think I printed this on some plain cardstock, and I did a bit of stamping just there, and a little applique. And this is one of my other fabric paper clusters. I was going to make a side tuck, but I decided not to, and made it into, left it as, you can use it as a tag. The layers on here is curtain, crochet trim, apricot lace, handkerchief, cheesecloth, pattern paper, and some just normal paper. Here I've popped in ledger paper just here, bit of tulle that I've twirled around, and this was an earring. Isn't that cool? So many things that have been recycled. Here's a nice flip. This is one of the images from my book that I mentioned in my previous video. This was a paper bag, okay, and I decoupaged this. Doily, applique, and just a little gathered up little lace trim. Made a journaling card, backed it with my painty papers, and decoupage book page. Can't see much of the decoupage now. Just a little bit of here and just around here, and then I cut out my tags, and then music paper here that I had left, and I accidentally tore off her parasol. Shame on me, but anyway, you can still see her, and that just goes in here. So it's a nice big pocket, so if you have something that you really wanted to put in here, you can. It's a doily, stenciling, another one of my fabric clusters. I might make some of these and put them in my shop. Anyone that's interested, just let me know. You know, they're paper and fabric combined, so really pretty. A handkerchief, bit of lace trim, book page, that one trim, and a bit of lace here, and some cheesecloth. So as you can see, I used a lot of layers on here. And of course, I made a flip. So I've added another page to it, another one of the clusters. You can use it as a little tuck if you choose to do so. Here I've written down "believe" on a piece of scrap fabric with my fabric pen. Is that? No, that's not it. Here it is. It's my fabric pen. It's a permanent marker, and I should get a black one or a brown one, but I only have the pink one because they're not cheap. And here, and then of course you have a pocket, and this is the other part of the book page that I mentioned. So must be a wedding party, I think. And I just got a piece of the back of a cash book. Okay, so I've just popped that on there, and that should go around the other way. It just pops in there, so it's got plenty of journaling space. Here's some more of the fabric, centre of the signature. I've used that fabric again. And here I've printed out a parasol. Again, it didn't turn out super duper, but it's a parasol. And just put on a little Made with Love charm on here. The signature is sewn in with my sewing awl. I'll have the amount of pages and the dimensions of the journal in the description in my Etsy store. Decoupaged the napkin and made a little flip. Another one of my clusters. Used a piece of metal filigree, doily, music paper, book paper, lace trim, tulle, and you can very secretly write a little note under there. No one would know. Bit of stamping, a little bit of ruffle. As you can see, I've cinched the edges on there. Bit more of that doily or tablecloth, or runner I should say. Another one of my fabric clusters. Yep, fabric and paper. And this pretty picture. Book page pocket, which I cover with the same sort of lace that is on the outside. Okay, so here I've made, this was one of my clusters that was going to be like a tab. Changed my mind and made it into a tag, so you can write on it. Okay, did a bit of stamping, book page, applique, ledge paper, tulle, very old vintage looking button, black thread, and I've printed this out on Pinterest, and a little piece of handkerchief. You can only just see the little bit of pink coming out, and cheesecloth. And of course I've got a little, I might put some little beads on here. Looks a bit plain. I'll put some beads on here, seed beads on there. Here's the other fabric. Again, I did singe it as well so it doesn't fray too much, but it's fully glued down so it's not going to go anywhere. Decoupage this is beautiful napkin, and this is of a napkin, the shoe, and I fussy cutted it out and popped it on there. Bit of stamping. One of my clusters. Made a little tag here. Colour turned out pretty good on this one. Okay. And obviously waiting for the bus. It's a bus ticket. And here I had some more for the little applique pieces. I've got a whole bunch here, just like that I found in the op shop. And because they have paper on the back, you can journal on it. So I've left it and just inked the edges. Stenciling. This is a altered envelope, and that I folded, and I didn't like the straight line, so I've popped on one of my clusters. Book page, music paper, and cheesecloth applique. Another piece of fabric there, and a bow. This is an original stamp. Don't ask me the nationality of that one. Little booklet from a just a journal card that I folded in half, but you can journal in this. And printed cloth that I had. I didn't do the print on that, and just fussy cut out this little girl here with a pink. Bit of pink in there. That just tucks in here. And then I've made a little card here. She's got a little pink flower bouquet there and a little parasol. and that's on the bit of cardstock. And then here is another tuck spot and a decoupage to journal card. And yeah, and just put some pink fabric so that you can actually see it. It just peeks out. And another one of these little things. I'll never live that down, I tell you. And here I've just used a piece of that doily that I put on the front cover, and just some more of that lovely trim. You can use it as a tuck spot if you wish. Here's another one of my clusters, and I've just wrote on hope on this bit of fabric here. Lots of layering, music paper, normal paper, graph paper, brown cardstock. This of a hanky, applique. This was of a, that was of a top, I think, that pink one. Bit of tulle. Printed this out onto coffee dyed paper, and that came out all right. This came off a little children's dress, and I didn't grunge it up. I've left it pink, and I had one of these fancy buttons left, which has a white background, which I don't use very much. I thought, well, I might as well use it on there. It fits just nicely. Here I've made a little flip. Okay, bit of stamping. Paper clip, you all know what I make my paper, the round paper clips from the lids of the Cornetto ice cream cones. Bit of music paper, and they had pen marks on it, so someone obviously written it. So when I ripped it, it had that pen mark. Book page, and then I did a bit of stamping. And then on the back of it, I've put a little tassel so you can lift the paper clip up and just take this out. This was going to be another one of my clusters, but was on the wrong side, so I thought I'll use it as a tag. Okay, one of my images out of the book. The other side didn't turn out, so I cut her in half, and I didn't want to waste it. Here I've made a waterfall notebook, little scrappy little notebook. Used one of my clusters, selvage edge of some fabric, book page, cheesecloth, did a bit of stamping. This is brown cardstock, and I zigzagged it on there. Here's some more of that printed fabric, and I used that as the top for the notebook. And I just did a random stencil just across there. And yeah, so you got some music paper there and some lined paper. So plenty of journaling spaces, and you can journal on the back as well. Here I have another one of those fabric paper clusters, a bit of stamping, book page, graph paper, little doily, music paper, a scrappy little piece of linen that I found, bit of lace trim, tulle, bit of cheesecloth in between. Just love how they come out. They just look awesome. And this paper is just the edge of a paper that's in a spiral bound book. That's how you get all those edges, and I usually leave them. And this holds an envelope that I printed out, and I backed it with some coffee dyed paper, and I just stamped that on there, tore it to make it look old. Here is still one of those invoices that I copied from the Tailor-Made Journals kit. Want to use up all the papers that I've printed out, and that just tucks in there. It just goes in there like that. Now here's the other side of that lovely decoupage page. Some more of that lovely soft fabric and some lace trim. Finished it off, make it look like a little curtain behind her. She's obviously going somewhere. Where is she going? She's going to the Paramount Theatre, and she's got a ticket. Okay, this one here, I've printed her out. She's been in my box for about 4 years, and it was meant to be one of those really big paper dolls, but at the time I didn't adjust my printer and it come out small. Didn't throw it away. So she's you know, she's pretty old. I've had her for a long time, but she has a parasol, so I've used her in here. And then I've just made a little tuck spot here, bit of braid, doily trim, and just this pretty little trim here. More stenciling. Yes, and look, I've put these on some cardstock so they're nice and firm. They obviously have got some postcards. They've gone away somewhere on holiday and sending out a postcard. One of my clusters just here. Again, you can just secretly maybe make a note of that underneath here. Quite a few different pieces of paper and fabrics. And just use a sheeting, just tore it in my little bow. Here's that lovely fabric. On the back I've popped on a pocket, and this is vellum paper, and I embossed it, and I just inked it and just cut it with my fancy scissors and made this little scrappy little notebook because I had these pieces on the table, and I thought okay, and I just stitched that, popped some more of that lovely fabric. This is wrapping paper, okay, and I've attached it to a little piece of handmade paper, which is this one. My friend makes handmade paper, and this was a reject, and I've been using the reject and just popped a little bit on the back there, and that just goes in here. And of course my little label. So yes, so the cover is being stitched and glued with glitter glue, but I just love the squishiness of it. And you know, you can get carried away with these journals, can't you? So this will be my next listing in my Etsy store, and then that just goes in here, tucks in quite nicely, and that's the story of the parasol. I really hope you enjoyed the walkthrough of this. It has a rounded spine, of course, with the one signature. It's just really, 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 really scrummy. So my next video will be this writing folio. I really had fun making this as well. So stay tuned for that one. I'm doing the videos in between my work today, so they're not all going to go up at once because this one will take probably an hour to load up anyway. So again, thank you very much for your ongoing support, and welcome to all my new subscribers. Stay safe, be happy, and keep crafting. Bye for now.